gracious me!
What is going on, guys? Davey here. Welcome to my flashback predictions. I didn't throw this together necessarily. I did spend a fair bit of time on it, but I didn't look anything up. I went off memory. So there are quite a few Premier League players in there, but there are a lot of other leagues in there as well. And basically, this is not set on anything that I think EA are going to look for. I think some of them are going to be completely random. Some of them are going to be the obvious. And speaking of obvious, I've left out a fair few obvious players that I think FUT Birthday will be required for. So, getting into it then, Casillas. This is a big one because obviously he had that time at Madrid where he was arguably, if not the best goalkeeper in the world at the time. And he held that title for a considerable number of years. So it's going to be difficult for them to deny Casillas a flashback card. However, it could easily be a FUT Birthday card. So that's one of them. I'm going to do the goalkeepers first. Of course, Gianluigi Buffon is another one. Of course, one of the best goalkeepers of all time in Buffon here. It's a bit of a shame that they can't go back to the original club where they would have had that sort of time in their career. So, for instance, Buffon would actually been a Juventus, but I think it's due to licensing that they can't do that kind of thing. Otherwise, that would be really cool. Tim Howard, not necessarily a player that I think many are going to want to get, but definitely a cheap one that if you are on a budget and can't really go for the big players, but you want a flashback card, you could get. And of course, this would be for his time with Everton. And these flashback cards aren't necessarily all going to be great players. You've got DANI ALVES in there as well. This is an interesting one because I don't know whether EA will bother doing this, of course, with his time at Barcelona, but he is going to get a Team of the Year more than likely. And he's already been given the Team of the Year, or he's up for a nomination, or I can't remember what it was. But either way, he'll probably get it anyway, right? So, will they do that or not? I'm not sure. Leighton Baines is another one, and I'm going back to trying to remember who were the best sort of fullbacks and defenders in FIFA back in sort of FIFA 12, FIFA 13. Leighton Baines in the Premier League was the one that you'd always go to, and he'd always get himself 2 or 3 informs in a season as well. Up next, though, we have a player that I think could potentially be in the Scream promo, so this could be another one that kind of misses the flashback. He could get both, but I doubt it, and that, of course, was Pepe. Pepe is the one that I've actually seen being sort of bounced around Twitter a lot. Of people think that this is going to happen. It's obviously for his time at Real Madrid, and you'd always use Pepe in your FIFA 13 Ultimate Team squad alongside Sergio Ramos. But again, could be a Scream promo. Kompany was a Scream item last year. Again, would be a bit of a stretch. So I think that maybe this year they could give him a flashback. And again, because he's sort of gone off the boil with Man City a little bit, and he was a very, very good defender in his day, minus the injuries. So I think, he's still decent, don't get me wrong, but he's not as good as what he was. And I think that could be a good card. This is purely from a Liverpool standpoint and maybe would be 84 rated, but Martin ŠKRTEL would be a great, great card. And I would love to get my hands on this. Not the easiest of player to fit into teams for sure, but it would be really cool as far as a Liverpool fan is concerned to be able to get this. And, he went through a few seasons where he was getting a lot of inform, so you never know. David Luiz is another player that seems to have gone off the boil a little bit. Worth a little bit at the moment, though, because of that Hazard SBC, but still nowhere near what he used to be. Wouldn't be surprised if he got sort of 70 pace. Wouldn't be surprised either if he was a CDM. But still, would be a good little card if you could get hold of it, though, because his normal card is pretty decent. So that would be kind of cool. I'm not sure about this one because at the back end of FIFA 18 they gave Daniele De Rossi a premium SBC, I believe. In fact, I know they did because I reviewed it. This would be maybe a stretch, but this again kind of wishful thinking because I really want this card. This would fit well into a team with maybe a Mobile or something. I really like the look of that. Bastian Schweinsteiger, of course, from his time at Bayern Munich. I could easily, well, I say easily, it would have taken me a lot of time, but I could have gone and researched the specific years that they had the sort of the peak of their career, but that would have been a lot of work to do because we have still got a lot of players to get through. Bastian Schweinsteiger, if this is going to be a thing, a regular thing, definitely deserves one, as does my next player, Javier Mascherano, that he's back in the game because he went to the Chinese league, of course. This would be not the highest rated card in the game by any stretch, and in fact they could give him an 86, and I don't think anyone would really mind. Maybe bump that passing up slightly, but still would be a really nice card and a very usable one because there are quite a few usable players from the Chinese league this year. We've got Iniesta going over to the Japanese league. He's already fairly highly rated, to be fair, 87 I think, but a 91, possibly a 92 could be a thing. I think he had an end of an era card, premium SBC in FIFA 18, so again, it might not happen, but I think EA would probably miss a trick if they didn't give him a flashback card, because they're sort of embracing the meaning of it. Oscar is up next, and again from his time at Chelsea, was never really an amazing player by any stretch of the imagination, but it was a bit of a shock when he moved to the Chinese league, and I feel like a flashback to his Chelsea days would be cool. And again, it is annoying that you can't have a Chelsea version of Oscar. Maybe something in the future they can work around, but for right now, I wouldn't say no to that, and I wouldn't say no to this either. And I would argue that Lucas Podolski deserves a higher rating, if not equal to Oscar, probably higher rated to be honest. But I've done it this way because I'm an idiot. So, just assume that Podolski and Oscar have got the same ratings. Podolski's card, very usable. Of course, he's got a very good left foot on him, so I wouldn't mind seeing that at all. And there's one of two Bayern Munich players in here that I think needs to happen, because Ribéry in the last few seasons have just been declining big time, but he refuses to retire. And I think that if we could get a card again that is usable all the time, because of course I think he got a Scream last year, but it was only ever usable when they bumped those stats. But if they had an 88 all the time, we've got an 87 at Di Maria here. Of course, he's been bumped down to an 84. It would be really cool if we could get ourselves a usable Angel Di Maria again, especially for chemistry for Neymar and Cavani, because if you put them in a 4-3-3 and your front three is basically the PSG front three and it looks like that, then that could be a really cool card and team to have. Gervinho up next. He arguably deserved an inform a couple of weeks ago when he went on a solo run and ran from his own penalty area and scored a pretty decent goal. But I don't know. I mean, again, this could easily be a flashback, but he was never amazing in FIFA. He was always one of the sort of cheap OP players, but it would still be really cool to have him. We spoke about Frank Ribéry. We're now going to talk about Arjen Robben. They've absolutely butchered his card this year. I've packed this guy about 4 times, and not once was I excited, because he has 0 pace and no one wants to use him. I think I've come up against him once in my entire sort of, 200-300 games so far. And I think this needs to be boosted again. It really does. Up next, Carlos Tevez. I've seen this bounce around Twitter a few times as well. And the rating is in and around the 86. I don't know whether he would deserve higher and maybe higher stats. I know that I think he had like 88 pace or something along those lines when he was in his prime. Would be cool to have that kind of card again, but we'll have to wait and see due to licensing and things. And then, of course, we have Fernando Torres. This, again, was a premium SBC end of an era type thing in FIFA 18. He's had a few special cards where they've done this to him and they've given him boosted stats. We could have another FIFA. I mean, there's loads of options here. You've got Foot Birthday, you've got premium SBCs, and of course now you've got flashback cards as well. So there are plenty of options and opportunities for Fernando Torres to get boosted. Up next, Alexandre Pato. This guy was a FIFA 13 god. He was in everybody's team. If you had a team in FIFA 13 for Ultimate Team and you had at least one Brazilian in there, it was Alexandre Pato. This guy was used an awful lot in the early stages of those FIFAs. Definitely deserves to be sort of recognised somewhat. This is not necessarily one that I would not agree with necessarily, but this is one that I saw floating around Twitter. I think it was the 2012 season? I can't quite remember. He got like more goals than games in that season, so definitely, has done enough in his career to warrant having one of these. Maybe not the highest rated player, but still worth a shout. Wayne Rooney, of course. Any player who moves to the MLS probably deserves a flashback card. You've got the likes of Schweinsteiger, Rooney. There's at least one other player in the list that deserves one. Rooney, maybe a centre forward, maybe a cam, maybe even a striker. Maybe I've been a little bit too generous or harsh. Let me know in the comments what you think about that. Speaking of Manchester United or Arsenal, whichever one you want, Robin van Persie. Again, this would be an interesting one. Of course, he got a Foot Birthday card last year, but I think it was one of those that you had to unlock, so not everyone got a chance to use it, so they may take that on board and give him this year. It's going to be interesting to see how this flashback thing works with regards to who gets it and who doesn't. Into the last few now, we have Radamel Falcao, a player that I would like to see because he would fit the meta of this game beautifully. He's got strength, he's great in the air, he's got excellent finishing already. So if he had a boost of a 90 rated card, then yes, fantastic. And of course you can fit quite a few players with him now, like Neymar you can get in there. Really good little French side you could have on your side. And then we've got Sturridge. This is I think a Scream card from last year, so again maybe not, but he started the season reasonably well considering he's not a starter. So with that in mind, I think maybe they might want to cash in and get everyone's sort of love for Daniel Sturridge, and particularly Liverpool fans, back on side, and want you to open packs, essentially. And the final player that we have here is going to be Zlatan Ibrahimovic. He was pretty much the most obvious choice here. You could get yourself a premium SBC, you could get a FUT birthday, you could get a flashback. There's so many options that they could do this year with the sheer amount of cards that they have. But a flashback for Ibra back to, I don't know, you could pick any day you wanted to, really. When this guy gets an icon, they're going to have to make a whole new set. You're going to have the baby, the mid, the prime, and the ultimate prime. There's just so many eras of Zlatan Ibrahimovic. If I've missed anybody out, feel free to let me know who in the comments. Don't be angry about it, mine. I know I've missed out the likes of Ibabo and Santi Cazorla. There's shouts for people like Ozil. There's more like Aaron Ramsey and such, and then various other, Mario Götze, etc, etc. I know the list goes on and on and on, but if I was to do that, I would quite literally be here for half an hour, and I would list half the database. So if I've missed anyone amazing, urgent, that has been downgraded tremendously, that didn't necessarily get a screen card or a FUT birthday card last year, let me know in the comments down below. If you have enjoyed it and you want me to do more of this and maybe a screen predictions tomorrow, feel free to hit that like button. If we can hit I'm gonna throw out a target in my head. There it goes. If you can hit that, I'll do that screen prediction for tomorrow. Thank you very much for watching, and until the next time, goodbye.